going. All right. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to open this Polk County Board of Commissioners meeting. Today is March 23rd. Extra agendas are on the board. All commissioners are present. Look first left, looking for comments, not on this agenda. Hearing none. Looking for approval of agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. And approval of minutes from March 16th.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. And approval of consent calendar.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Now we're going to open this up for public hearing for community development. And we'll be bring for hearing request of appeal statement. Looking for call for abstentions. Hearing none. County staff.
All right, so the first application that we have is special assessment 22-01. I recommend that we hold two separate hearings, one for each one of these applications. We have two applications. This application was submitted by the Confederated Tribes of the Grand Round Community of Oregon, and their request is to have Polk County tax assessor apply the open space special assessment to 665.1 acres in the exclusive farm use zone off Steel Bridge Road. A map of the location is in your memorandum, and the applicable review and decision criteria are also in your memorandum. And these particular applications are unique for special assessments. Typically, a special assessment determination is made by the Polk County tax assessor. However, the open space special assessment can be for some pretty intensive recreational uses. And as a result of that, there's a relatively exhaustive process where land use compatibility process where the Planning Commission must conduct a public hearing, make a recommendation to the board, and then the board must conduct a public hearing, and the Board of Commissioners makes the ultimate decision on whether or not to apply the special assessment to the property. In this particular instance, on March 1st of 2022, the Polk County Planning Commission held a public hearing. They considered the evidence in the record, public testimony, and the staff memorandum. And after deliberation, the Planning Commission recommends that the Board of Commissioners adopt an approval of the application to apply an open space lands assessment to the entire 665.1 acres and to identify the open space use upon which the approval is based as native habitat open space non-recreational. Pursuant to OAR, Oregon Administrative Rule 308, and Polk County Zoning Ordinance Chapter 115, the Board of Commissioners shall conduct a public hearing, consider the recommendation of the Planning Commission, and make a final local decision. So in the memorandum, just briefly, I'll just sort of highlight the conclusions from staff and the Planning Commission. Staff found that removing the economic incentives related to farm and forest special assessment may aid in conservation of the current use of the land. Staff concluded that the entire 665.1 acres are encumbered with a conservation easement and are included in a tribal lands management strategy to enhance natural resources, and therefore the open space land special assessment should be applied to all of the subject properties. This conclusion satisfies the requirements of ORS, Oregon Revised Statute, Chapter 308. Staff concludes that the existing conservation easement and tribal lands management strategy accomplish the objectives of the open space land designation by enhancing and maintaining the current rare native ecosystem. Therefore, the application meets the minimum requirements of the law and can be considered open space use for the purposes of ORS Chapter 308. If the application is approved, an open space use must be identified that allows the assessor to meet their obligation to collect any additional taxes as required by the law. The current open space use is not a use that is regulated by the EFU zone or ORS Chapter 215 and is therefore permitted. The applicant has made it clear that they do not intend to put the land to a use such as a park or other recreational open space use that would require land use authorization. Therefore, in this case, Staff recommends that the board find that the use is a native habitat open space, non-recreational use, which is an open space use for the purposes of ORS Chapter 308. If the applicant's intent in the future is to develop a park or other recreational open space use, land use authorization would be required. Any change to another open space use or intensification must be permitted and authorized in the EFU zone. And that concludes my staff presentation.
Okay, is there anyone here from the applicant? See? We'll move on to public testimony. So note that all testimony and evidence must be directed toward the applicant factual and legal criteria as identified in the record and or during this hearing. Do not repeat previous testimony. Simply note for the record that you are in agreement with that earlier testimony. Your time to present testimony is limited. Failure to raise an issue in this hearing, in person or by letter, or failure to provide adequate specificity to afford the board of opportunity to respond to the issue may preclude later appeal to loop on that issue. So individuals in favor of the application or appeal? And any individuals against? Hearing none. Questions from the board? Discussion limited to individuals by the board would be to staff, applicant, and individuals testifying.
A quick question under the fiscal impact. You mentioned that the county would receive a total farm potential additional tax of approximately $23,000. Is that an annual?
No, that's a one-time fee.
Awesome.
That's because about a little over 330 acres of this particular of these properties is at market rate right now.
Sure.
And so in order to go into a special assessment, they'd have to basically do the rollback.
Just want to clarify. Thanks.
May I ask for a motion?
Yep, I'm ready to move on for approval of Polk County Order number 22-03.
Second that.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Now I'd like to open up a hearing for a request for appeals to SA 2202.
Just want to make sure for clarification on that action that we're closing the record on that application.
Okay.
Yeah, the record is closed and you have deliberated and voted.
On 2201.
We'll get to that at the end.
Now I'm going for file number SA 2202 and county staff Austin McWiggins.
All right, so this is the second application, very similar to the first application. This one is on approximately 104 acres. It's located off of Harmony Road. The map and the applicable review and decision criteria are in the memorandum. And in this particular instance, again, the Planning Commission conducted a public hearing on March the 1st. They after they deliberated and considered all of the public testimony and the recommendation of the staff, they voted in favor of a motion to recommend approval of the application and apply the open space land special assessment to the entire 104 acres and to identify the open space use upon which the approval is based on in the adopting order as native habitat open space, non-recreational, same as previous. Pursuant to Oregon Administrative Rule 308 and Polk County Zoning Ordinance Chapter 115, the Board of Commissioners shall conduct a public hearing, consider the Planning Commission recommendation, and make a final local decision. In this application, the conclusions are very similar. Staff concluded that the entire 104 acres are encumbered with a conservation easement and are included in a tribal lands management strategy to enhance natural resources, and therefore the open space land special assessment should apply to the entire subject property. The staff concluded that the existing conservation easement and tribal lands management strategy accomplish the objectives of the open space land designation by enhancing and maintaining the current rare native ecosystem. Therefore, the application meets the minimum requirements of the law and can be considered an open space use for the purposes of ORS 308. If the staff concludes, or if the application is approved, an open space use must be identified that allows the assessor to meet their obligation to collect any additional taxes as required by the law. The current open space use is not a use that is regulated by the EFU zone or ORS 215 and is therefore permitted. The applicant has made it clear that they do not intend They do not intend to put the land to a use such as a park or other recreational open space use that would require land use authorization. Therefore, in this case, staff recommends that the board find that the use is a native habitat, open space, non-recreational use, which is an open space use for the purposes of ORS Chapter 308. If the applicant's intent in the future is to develop a park or other recreational open space use, land use authorization would be required. Any change to another open space use or intensification must be permitted and authorized in the EFU zone. And that concludes the staff recommendation.
Thank you. As prior, there's no one here representing the applicant at this time. Open this up to public testimony. Note that all testimony and evidence must be directed toward the applicant factual and legal criteria as identified in the record and or during this hearing. Do not repeat previous testimony. Simply note for the record that you're in agreement with that earlier testimony. Your time to present testimony is limited. Failure to raise an issue in this hearing in person or by letter, or failure to provide adequate specificity to afford the board an opportunity to respond to the issue may preclude later appeal to LUBA on that issue. Individuals in favor of the applicant for the appeal, and individuals against. No comments either one. At this time, I'd like to open up questions for the board.
I'll go ahead and move to approve application 22-02 as presented.
And subsequently the order 22-04.
Yes,
I'll second that.
thank you.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously.
I don't know for the record that the hearing is closed, the board deliberated and approved the application.
Thank you. So now we go back to public hearing other front page or?
So I would just do a quick explanatory that the next items on the agenda are the adoption of the draft orders. These draft orders were prepared by staff in advance of the public hearing because the statute states that if the decision body fails to make a decision prior to April 1 of the calendar year following the submittal of the application, that the applications automatically become effective. As a result of the fact that we're at the end of March, I included a draft order for each one of the applications. Those were included in the packet for the Board of Commissioners. And based on the motion and the approval of the motion, those motions included the approval of those adopting and implementing orders. Therefore, I don't believe that the next portion on the agenda is necessary.
No, I need to look for motions.
Nope.
Approve individual.
Nope.
Okay, so these bills are finalized and concluded. Next up, do you have a need for executive session?
No, sir.
We're adjourned.